Look at us up on Doc Rio TV. Welcome to the first episode of Doc Rio's Driving Rants. Today I want to talk about a few things that people don't do when they drive, or should do, or maybe just some driving tips. We're going to call it Doc Rio's Driving Tips. That's what we're going to call it. These are in the hot box driving tips. If you're in the LA hot box and you're driving, you probably should take these tips. All right. So with that being said, the first tip I want to talk about is blinkers. Use them. What is the problem with you guys out here? Are you too lazy to use your blinkers? You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. I don't get what the problem is. If you use your indicators, that's what they're originally called, signals, indicators, whatever you want to call them, it is to indicate that you're making a move. Whether it be a left turn, right turn, lane change, or whatever it is, you are signaling to the other driver behind you what you're doing. And sometimes in front of you, especially when you're making a right turn and that person's making a left turn in front of you. So use them. Next is tailgating. Now, I'm from LA. There's no need to tailgate here. There is no need to tailgate. Well, I can understand this. Okay. People tailgate because we're in traffic. That makes sense. That does make sense. But in an open freeway, there is no need to tailgate. If you're tailgating somebody and you're on open freeway, just don't use that auto cruise control stuff. What, you can't be behind somebody? I mean, you got to be behind somebody on a freeway when you drive. If it's an open freeway, go around. Go around, stop tailgating on an open freeway, especially if somebody's doing 65. You tailgating somebody at 65, right? You know, give at least a half a car length or a car length. You know what I mean? If you're doing 45, 55. But if you're doing 60, 65 and plus, give 2 car lengths. No tailgating, folks. Speaking of open freeways, wow. I see people on open freeways all the time, or open streets all the time. And the reason why we have so much traffic on these open streets, the reason why we have so much traffic on these open freeways is because people are afraid to drive. I get it. People are afraid to drive. LA is a scary place to drive. You know, and what happens is that people tend to not drive the minimum speed limit. So what happens is it gets gapped up and you'll have an open freeway become a parking lot. Or should I say an open freeway get bottlenecked at some point. And when an open freeway gets bottlenecked, now, now you got all this traffic. So, drive the minimum speed limit. If you're getting on the freeway and you're afraid to drive on the freeway, I can understand it. I do understand it is scary out there. It is challenging. But if you're afraid to drive on the freeway and you don't want to do 45 in a 55 or 55 in a 65, because the minimum speed limit you're supposed to be able to do on a freeway is 55. So if you're doing 45 in a 55 or 45 in a 65, you need to take the streets, homie. That's just the way it is. You need to take the streets. Now, if you're doing 55 in a 65, move over to the right. Simple rules. These are just simple rules. And maybe I understand these rules because, I grew up with a mother who drove the bus. I mean, I've walked all over these streets. This hot box, there is practically no part of this neighborhood in this hot box. There is no neighborhood in this hot box that I haven't been in because I used to walk these streets. I've skateboarded on these streets. I've ridden bikes on these streets. I've all the way from Simi Valley all the way down into Orange County. And when we talk about Simi Valley, that's Ventura County. So, you know what I mean? I've driven these streets and rode the buses on these streets. All right. So in this hot box, I know this hot box. I know this hot box well. All right. Not to mention the places I didn't think I had been to. I'd been to 90% before I even started driving for Uber and Lyft. I started driving for Uber and Lyft. I found some places I didn't even know in Ventura County, in Orange County, in LA. So now I know for a fact I've been through pretty much 100% of the neighborhoods. Not every street, but at least the neighborhood. So I know what the neighborhood's like in LA. So with that being said, the last thing is important to me because I drive a lot. And like I said, I drive through a lot of neighborhoods. I do a lot of turns. So I want to talk about the problem I see with people making left turns as I do this crazy maneuver just then to get around traffic just because I'm a driver. And so one of the things about left turns that annoys me, and it causes even more traffic as well, is the fact that people don't understand how to make a left turn in LA. It is a little complex because there are rules in other cities, in other states, in other countries. I think that's the problem. We have a melting pot, so we have people from all over the world. Some people who won't even learn the language before they start driving, which kills me. But, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother story. But anyway, should at least be able to read the dang signs out here. But anyway, we have people, when they get ready to make a left turn, they don't understand two things. One, you can make a left turn whenever it doesn't have an arrow. Well, okay, let me back that up because there are all kind of signs that say left turn. But I'm just going to say, when you're making your left turn and you're in a left turn lane that has a left turn arrow, if the arrow has a red arrow, then you cannot make a left turn. If the arrow goes from a red arrow to a green, solid green in that lane, then you can make a left turn. But when you make that left turn, there are a few rules that you should follow. So anytime you see a solid green, you can start getting ready to make that left turn. All right. You just have to yield for the traffic that's on the left. But the first rule you should follow, which everybody yields because nobody wants to get hit, but the first rule you should follow is, number one, you should pull out into the center of the lane. You should pull out into the intersection. All right. When you pull out into that intersection, number two, you should pull out into that intersection as close as you can to that middle line. That middle line is important because when you pull out to that middle line, you should, three, keep your wheels straight. Now, I know it's a little scary when you pull out to the middle line, you know what I mean? So if you want to pull out and leave a half a car length or a quarter of a car length, do so between you and that line. I understand, because cars are coming like this and you got another car in front of you trying to make a left turn too. So it is a little scary, but I'm explaining this in a second. Now, with that being said, number three, when you do keep your wheels straight, you will be protecting yourself if somebody does actually hit you and not knock you into traffic. You see what I'm saying? So if somebody hits you from behind or hits the other car behind them or anything, keeping your wheels straight keeps you from getting knocked into the moving traffic. I'd rather be bumped into the car in front of me than to be bumped into moving traffic, because no telling what will happen. All right. Now, four, when you get ready to make that left turn, you're going to turn your wheel all the way to the left before you accelerate, because five, you're going to accelerate through that turn. The reason why you do this is because of this. If you keep your wheels and then you turn your wheels first, both sides can do a left turn without hitting each other. That is just important. So when you do that, you will be clearing the car in front of you. Now, after clearing the car in front of you, make sure, 6, you do not cross that yellow line. Cross over that yellow line. Cut the yellow line, they call it. Cutting the yellow line is not good, all right? Because I've even seen people go into that lane and drive down the opposite left turn lane. That's what starts to happen. There are cars maybe coming in that lane, slowing down, and you can clip that car, all right? And so those are the steps you need in LA to know to take a left turn. And actually, that's the end of the tips I'm going to give you for today. We're going to call that the first episode of Doc Rio Tips of In the Hot Box Driving. That's Doc Rio's tips on In the Hot Box Driving. This is Doc Rio signing off in the Hot Box. Peace. Push button, baby. Doc Rio TV.